I'm going to make this video for some old friends. Let's start out with Linda Thompson. And I guess we can throw in Linda Miner and Kathy Austin Fitz and Alan Stang. And let's see. What's his name up there in American Fork, Utah there? Sam Bushman of the Liberty Roundtable. And Panama Dave over to Mobile, Alabama. And my very good and close personal friend, old Patrick Lovell. And Eric Vaughn, the producers and the content creators of The Con, the New Untouchables, and all those Patrick Lovell truth bombs. And then let's move along here to Peter Bruton of the Mafia, the CIA, and George Bush. And then there was this book, The Greatest Bank Robbery Ever by Martin Mayer. And let's see, DCIA by Brian Quigg. Brian Quigg was a good old friend. He's been dead quite a long time now. And, there's a whole bunch of other old friends of mine that I'd like to dedicate this particular video to. I've been watching some of the New Untouchables videos here lately. And what is he? The producer, the star of the show there, Patrick Lovell. He's coming up with a lot of this gang rape of the United States financial system, sort of like Catherine Austin Fitz likes to quote that financial coup d'etat. And then, of course, there's all the subprime, predatory, fake documents, no credit checks, all the massive liars loans, and all the liar lenders. There was plenty of liar lenders, like Bank of America and Wells Fargo and WAMU and old Danksky Bank, the Russian banks with Deutsche Banks, the Nazi banks, and Credit Suisse, the Swiss bankster gangsters, and HBSC, yeah, I think I got that right. And you had Barclays, and let's not forget those Western banks of Houston. Let's not forget the Western banks of Houston, ladies and gentlemen. They were the slimiest little dirty lying banks imaginable. And then you had all these title insurance companies and real estate companies like, Lee Farkas, and I guess Andy Farkas was making lots of loans. And you had all kind of people invested in this stuff like Gerald Kushner and Donald Trump, and Epstein and company, Epstein and all of his money laundering pals. And the list just goes on and on and on and on and on, folks, of all this financial gang rape of the United States. Got some kind of, there we go. The story begins back just before the massive crash in 1929, 1930, and when the so-called Depression took over in the United States, where there was more gold in reserves at that time than you'd possibly believe, but the bankster gangsters they cut off all the credit. That's what happened. There was a credit crunch. And the popping of their great roaring 20s, the 19-teens, the early 1900s, 1905, 1908, 1910, the great roaring 20s come to a crash when the bubbles started popping. So this is kind of the near history of how this financial coup d'etat has been orchestrated by the billionaires and the big keystrokers, because that's where money comes from anymore. They just keystroke it into a computer, and then they print it up on cotton linen rag with silk fibers Write that down, Patrick Lovell. Cotton linen rag with silk fibers. It's not paper. It's more like a cloth, which they print the notes up, the Federal Reserve notes, also known as ferns, F-R-N-S. That's a little bit of a critique I have for Patrick Lovell. He keeps talking about dollars, but they're not dollars. They're ferns, Patrick. Now, everybody who knows me knows damn well I've been onto this banking chicken shit, this banking horse shit, since before Christopher Schwecker got hired at the FBI down there in Houston. Schwecker knows what I'm talking about, all the land scheming and swindles and scams of the Suite 8F gang there from the Lamar Hotel in downtown Houston, right there around the corner from 1300 Main Street, where the Western banks and the Rita Lababetti group of England, Switzerland, and Africa set up. The Lebanese bankster gangsters of Morocco, the yacht basin there. The yacht basin crew of Purple Capital, the ultra-wealthy investor class of planet Earth. Yep. So, let's see. Let's go back to what I was talking about here. The massive subprime predatory real estate swindles and scams. Because you see, you can't have a predatory foreclosure, and you can't have a predatory mortgage, and you can't have a land swindle without the real estate development that it all happens on. Including the apartments and the condos and the townhouses and the tract homes. Oh, God, those tract homes. And then they have all these subdivision developments that are all part of this dirty dealing, land flipping, scheming, scamming, churning. Let's not forget the churning of the bankster gangsters and the title companies with the people like the Clintons and the Bushes and the Obamas and every damn real estate scheming, scamming swindler you can think of. And if you have any problems, just ask former FBI director there in the criminal section, old Christopher Schwecker. Just ask Schwecker about the routine real estate fraud. Like that Colony Ridge bullshit there just to the east of New Caney in Texas there. Absolutely. You've got this gang of slobs operating out of Conroe. I guess their offices are up at 1331, something like that, North Thompson in Conroe, Texas. The Harris gang. I used to work around John and Trey Harris's daddy, old Roy Harris. He was the deed recorder county clerk for the longest time for the Commissioner's Court. You can get a hold of Barb Sadler and Nelda Luce Radabow Blair and get a hold of Jimmy Dozier and, I don't know, Daniel C. Rice from the Woodlands, Texas. He was the county attorney. I think he was district attorney for a little while as well. Old Dan Rice. He can tell you about all these real estate swindles and schemes and scams. With Nelda Luce Radabow Blair. Oh, heck yeah. And Mark Thurnbull, the county deed recorder. Thurnbull. And my old buddy from the Conroe Courier, J.C. Devers. And the list just goes on and on and on. You can ask K.C. Tuckness. She's a licensed private investigator. She's living in Bali. They poisoned her house and poisoned her, I guess, in the Woodlands when she started exposing all the racketeering in real estate that Nelda Luce Radabow Blair can tell you about with Jim Blair and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. You remember the Wade Real Estate, Ozark Realty gang of, what they call that place there? Whitewater, Castle Grande, Maplewood Farms, the Campo Bella Island scams, Arkansas Industrial Development Bank with MacDougals of the Madison Guarantee Savings and Loan. I'll guarantee you old Professor Bill Black knows what I'm talking about, don't you, Bill Black? And apparently the Brofmans that are helping Patrick Lovell produce these new Untouchable series of truth bombs and the con, the great big con. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all keep working together because the bottom line is Donald Trump's involved in this up to his eyeballs with Epstein and company. And you'll notice that all the Epstein and company bankster gangsters, they're all the same bankster gangsters that are involved in all this real estate swindling and predatory foreclosing and churning and all these other dirty bankster gangster scams that have robbed trillions in ferns. They're ferns. They're not dollars, Patrick. They're ferns. But you'll learn. You'll learn. In the great financial coup d'etat. And you can get a hold of the quintessential joust there. Linda Miner and Catherine Austin Fitz. And they will show you the money over there at Solari. Tell them, Kathy Fitz. Tell them all about the land swindlers and HUD and FHA and the Federal Home Loan Bank and, United States Department of Agriculture, the State Department, USAID, Bearing Point, Carlyle Group. I go all day long naming names. Ladies and gentlemen, keep the press, keep the heat, keep the hammer down on these sons of bitches, and we will save the good old USA. Judson with them, signing out, and as always, hasta la vista, God bless, and you can betcha we're coming back.